And now it's Boomer Life.
Lifestyle ideas designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete.
Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life
With Sterling Fox.
Well, hello and welcome to Boomer Life here on AM 650. And on the program today, we're talking about retirement living and making the decision for retirement living with Shannon Oaks, a Baptist housing community in Vancouver. Jillian Fullerton is back with us from Shannon Oaks. Nice to see you again.
Very nice to be here, Sterling.
Now, what exactly is your title this week at Shannon Oaks? Because you wear many hats, Jillian.
I do what I can and fill in when I can, but officially I am the marketing and sales manager for Baptist Housing. I am now helping out and working with Shannon Oaks and absolutely loving it.
I know Baptist housing is an important phrase to bring into the conversation this early, because if we were going to give the Shannon Oaks website, for example, and encourage people to go have a look online,
yes,
as we tend to want to do when we're looking around for these details, it's not Shannon Oaks, it's BaptistHousing.org. Now, Baptist Housing is a group that provides seniors communities not only in Vancouver at Shannon Oaks, but elsewhere in the province as well.
In Victoria and in Kelowna. And we have a variety of them. We have over 17 different sites where we provide housing for seniors. So it's a vast organization. This is our 50th year, Stuart.
It is a wonderful year, 1964.
That's correct.
I mean, it was 50 years for the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. It's 50 years for Shannon Oaks in Vancouver. Come on, it's a big year all around, Jillian.
Is there a correlation there?
Well, I don't know, but it's something to celebrate. And if they can do it on TV, is there a party this summer sometime? Is there an
yes,
actual
there will be.
50th anniversary
definitely.
bash?
It's coming up, definitely.
Excellent.
We have well, we're going to also celebrate around the International Year of the Senior in October.
Mm-hmm.
We'll celebrate that and make a special thing. But we're also having a wonderful garden party during the summer. Mm-hmm. We have wonderful gardens at Shannon Oaks.
And they also get a little competitive on the gardening side, too. As I
yes.
recall, last summer, there were competitions involving professional judges from the floral community in Vancouver.
Van Dusen Gardens.
That's right, who came down to Shannon Oaks and actually judged a competition, and the teams produced some amazing results and were quite a competitive crowd in the process.
Yes, they are. They still have that competitive thrill, which is great to see. Each of the residents are given either a box or a pot, a big pot. They can plant things, and then they were come by and judged, and it was really exciting.
Well,
exciting
what a
to see
great
it.
opportunity for a garden party,
Oh,
too.
yes. Yeah.
Now, Shannon Oaks, we're talking about the 50th anniversary. Back 50 years ago, when Baptist Housing first created a seniors community, a care community in East Vancouver, it wasn't Shannon Oaks in those days. It was called Clarendon Court, and that's still there as part of Shannon Oaks, isn't it?
Well, it's not the same building. It's all built new.
Right.
The other one is torn down.
Right.
And Shannon Oaks is our independent living, 147 apartments for seniors, and Clarendon Court is our assisted living. So that offers care for those seniors that need a little bit more care.
Okay.
So if they need help bathing, dressing, medication supervision, they would be very appropriate for Clarendon Court.
Well, for those of us who are trying best, this is Boomer Life here. You know, we Boomers, we're trying to do a good job, Jillian.
Yeah.
And part of doing a good job is learning the jargon, learning the terms.
That's right.
And this whole business of retirement living, particularly with the myriad of options available to our senior parents now, this is all pretty fresh. This is all quite new in Canada in the last 10 or 15 years. And so a lot of us Boomers are still really just trying to catch up to the changes that have come about. You know, the old folks' home is a historical thing nowadays. It's a whole new industry, and it's a whole new lifestyle option available to seniors in 2014, isn't it?
I like that term, lifestyle option, because that's what we are offering. It's a lifestyle option. You bring your lifestyle to Shannon Oaks. You don't park it at the door. Mm-hmm. You bring it in, and we adapt to your lifestyle.
Okay, now in terms of understanding the jargon,
Yes.
this description of types of seniors communities throws some of us off. So every chance I get, I like to just stop and just kind of take a moment and go through it. Now, Shannon Oaks is, as you just mentioned, close to 150 suites. Now, that's independent living.
Independent living, another term that is often used similarly to independent living, is supportive housing. What that means is the supports are there to enable our residents to remain independent for a longer period of time.
Aha.
The supports are all your meals and nutritious meals. The supports are exercise programs to keep you fit. The supports are weekly housekeeping and laundry of your bed linens and towels, so all that's done for you.
Mm-hmm.
And another support is your 24-hour emergency response.
Okay.
So you can be anywhere in the building, anywhere at all, and press the button that either on your neck or around on your belt loop, and we know who you are and where you are, and we will come to you.
Okay, now that's all part of independent living, and you've already suggested now Clarendon Court, the rebuilt Clarendon Court,
Yes.
it offers a different level of care, and that is called again?
Assisted living.
Assisted living.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, and that is, I think, fairly self-explanatory in that there are professionals available to you
Yes.
to assist in the daily chores of life
Yes.
that you're not quite up to handling anymore.
There's nursing care involved, and if you need help with bathing, if you need help with dressing, or if you need help with pill medication,
Sure,
for
yeah.
example, they would supervise that for you as well.
And now
So-
there's a whole other layer still out there, isn't it, in terms of seniors care? And what's that called or referred to as?
When you exceed 2 prescribed services in assisted living, they bundle them into prescribed services.
Okay.
You go into what they call complex care or residential care.
Ah, okay.
Now, complex care is really in a hospital setting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's quite a different scene, and that is what we're talking about today. That is my concern with people who stay in their homes, their familiar environment.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, they have waited too long, and they must go into complex care.
Right, and
Which-
they've missed the fun parts, which was stage
right.
1 and 2, which was independent
Exactly.
living, and then assisted living.
Exactly.
And I guess also that you want to, the point that comes with that too is when you read about residents in seniors retirement communities right across Canada, the theme that seems to emerge, Gillian, more than any others from most residents is, this is a whole lot more than I ever thought it was going to be. And if I have any regrets, it's that I didn't move here earlier.
So familiar. That's so familiar. We hear that on a daily basis. They have new friends. They have new activities. They feel healthier. They're engaged. They're involved. They go on bus trips. They do all sorts of things instead of living in isolation in their own homes.
Now, the beauty of what Baptist Housing has created at Shannon Oaks, however, is a community in which there are 2 levels of care available.
Yes.
And so that indeed, if at some point you're unable to carry on with the assisted living and require an extra level of care, would you have to leave one building and go across the courtyard to another? That would be about as far away as your move would take you, wouldn't it?
I think we're confusing things a little bit. The assisted living is is where the care is given.
Okay.
And independent living or supportive housing is what Shannon Oaks is.
And this is why you're here with me today, to make sure that I understand my terminology correct.
That's right.
And if I'm having some issues with it, imagine all of my boomer friends and neighbors who are still trying to sort this out.
That's how I started out. My mother was in hospital. She could not go home. And so I was thrust right into it. And in those days, and it's quite a few years ago, 20 years ago, more than that.
So when this seniors community was a different kettle of fish,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, but the terminology was all over the place.
I'll bet.
And you had to clarify it. There was nobody to explain it. I started being an advocate for seniors at that point because after my mom passed away, because I realized there was so much going wrong that we didn't know about, that was not being done, that should be done.
Now, as an advocate for 20 years for seniors and understanding, particularly with 20 years of history, in terms of looking after your mom and how things are in 2014 versus 20 years ago when you were out there batting on your mom's behalf, a lot of changes have taken place. What have you noticed about people, we boomers, 20 years after you started, in terms of our information levels, our desire to do the right thing and get good information, and of course the availability of information now versus 20 years ago.
Oh,
too.
yes. It's much more available, especially with the web. There's websites you can sit in the privacy of your own home. I used to have to get in a car and travel, or go on the phone and get inappropriate answers or incomplete answers. Nowadays, you can go on the website and you can go to baptisthousing.org, click on Shannon Oaks and get all the information. You can look at all of Baptist housing sites on that site.
Right.
But that's available. And I think that people are becoming more of an advocate because they realize there are choices out there. I really appreciate a person coming into Shannon Oaks and finding out first and foremost what is available for my mom or mother-in-law or dad.
And learning the terms and doing all of those super basic things.
And I will sit down with them and direct them. We have people, just last week, a person came in, and it was obvious they did not need independent living. They were far beyond that.
Okay.
So in which case I directed them to places that would provide their needs. So we will sit down and do that with people because we are a resource. And if they're not appropriate for Shannon Oaks, then I'll show them where they could start looking.
Well, and again, that's a kind of a neighborly thing to do, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I would think that's what most people would try to do.
Well, but it's because of the variety that's now available for seniors in these retirement communities of all descriptions and locations. It makes the job easier in one sense, Jillian, in that, as you pointed out, the information is right there at your fingertips. There's gobs of information. But there's also a whole lot more choices available now.
There is. There's a lot more choices and better choices. And I really advocate that people go and educate themselves. So don't look at one, look at 1, 2, or 3 and compare and see what's appropriate for mom or dad.
Right. We're talking about making the decision.
Yes.
A lot of what we're going to talk about, we're going to have a guest join us in a couple of minutes too, who's just been through this whole experience with her mom. So, but again, it's the idea behind, if you're going to make a good decision, then it must be an informed decision.
Correct.
And so and smart idea to get out there and say, we're not the only game in town. Have a look around and see what the other options are, and then we'll talk.
I know that Shannon Oaks will come up shining. I'm very confident in that.
Well,
I've seen many places.
Right.
So I know of what I speak in that case.
Right.
Shannon Oaks is exceptional.
And when people come to you, and when people want to make inquiries about Shannon Oaks specifically and sit down for a chat, it's quite likely, Jillian, that you're going to be that person that they'll have that conversation with.
Yes, could be.
Do you find that when people come for that initial visit, that you're talking to us boomers, the kids, or do we bring our senior parents with us, or do the parents just say, we'll take care of this by ourselves, thanks?
It's most often that the senior themselves will come with a friend or family member.
Interesting.
Yes, that's usually what happens.
That's the first inquiry mission.
That's usually what happens.
Okay.
But often, too, it'll be the adult children will come in and look and doing the first sort of cut. But most often, adult children have done that first cut on the web.
I was just going to say.
So they've done that.
They're not walking into something blind.
It would have been, years previous, it would have been something else. But in this case now, they know. They've seen other things online. So they're quite comfortable with coming in and now taking a further look. This is stage 5, maybe, because they've done through all sorts of, different sort of inquiries at different places.
Well, an informed consumer is a good one, and definitely a person interested in value and good information.
Yeah. Exactly.
We'll need to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to expand our conversation by one more person and introduce our listeners to Andrea, who's just gone through this whole process on behalf of her mother-in-law. And were you not the first person that she met when she came to Shannon Oaks?
Yes, I was very impressed with her too, but she was advocating for her mother-in-law.
We're talking retirement living and making the decision here. Our guest is Jillian Fullerton from Shannon Oaks in Vancouver. Vancouver, and you can check them out online during the break if you'd like. The website is baptisthousing.org, and then once you get into the umbrella website, then you can click on Shannon Oaks, or for that matter, have a look at all the other Baptist housing properties and communities around British Columbia. Quick break, and we're right back on Boomer Life on AM 650.
It's all about the baby boomer lifestyle. Boomer Life
On AM 650.